Biden-appointed CFPB Director Rohit Chopra is still at the helm of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau 5 days after President Trump took office. The Wall Street Journal editorial board has a piece this morning titled, "Why is Rohit Chopra still employed at the CFPB?" The CFP director himself joins us this morning to discuss both his and the agency's future. And Rohit, thank you for being here. A lot of questions raised, and I know that you've had your bags packed and kind of been waiting to see what happens with all this. Have you been anticipating a phone call?
Well, I understand and I recognize that the president has the right to really put into place a new nominee, a new director of the CFPB, but until that time, I am discharging my oath to serve my term, and we are very, very busy. I know that it is also a tough decision to choose a new CFPB director. It is a job where you face constant attacks and opposition from a well-funded lobby and group of big banks. We saw the president call out some of those banks directly by name for some of their business practices. And the list goes really on and on about the obstacles we face in this job. But until that time, we're going to keep doing our work. We have a busy docket, really looking at some of the big issues on credit cards. Just this past weekend, a small bank failed. There was a major system issue with Capital One. So the work continues, but of course, I am ready to pass the baton whenever someone is identified, and I'm working hard to set them up for success.
Hey, Rohit, I just want to go back to this. You just mentioned the president calling some of the big banks out on their behavior. He was calling them out for refusing to bank conservatives in his kind of accusation on that. The banks have said that they're only following the rules that the regulators place on them. You think the banks are doing the wrong thing and that they're not banking conservatives? You agree with that?
Well, here's what's interesting. When the CFPB put into place a policy view that banks should not be debanking based on certain characteristics, they sued us for that. Just a few weeks ago, we put into place a proposed rule that would prevent debanking people based on political speech or religious views. So I really think that we have to make sure that what these banks are saying is actually what they're doing. The president has also raised questions about exorbitant interest rates on credit cards. And of course, he mentioned Brian and Jamie, Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase. They have a lot of power in the credit card market and have been raising interest rates mightily, much more so than the Fed has. So I really do think that whoever the president chooses as my successor, they are going to have really some issues with the banks they oversee. But, that is part of the job.
Rohit, you just mentioned that, you had taken the position that banks were unrightfully debanking a lot of these conservative groups. What evidence?
No. What I'm saying is that they should not be using those types of criteria when it comes to closing people's accounts.
The banks say
they don't. But
I will tell you, every bank says they do not do that. You're saying
well, then
they do?
Why would they? No. Why have they been so resistant then to some of the rules that make that absolutely clear? We know that there's lots of reasons why banks close accounts. I heard your discussion earlier when it was about money laundering and terrorism finance. There's a whole host of other issues, and our analysis of this is that many of them use complex algorithms to determine who continues or does not continue. I would certainly hope that they are not using any of those criteria at all. But it is important that the regulators make sure of that. And you are seeing our proposed rule that we announced a few weeks ago would really make sure that that is crystal clear. And
so
look,
do you think you see eye to eye with President Trump? Or is this almost a way that you two see? Are you simpatico with him on this issue?
Well, I think it's totally inappropriate for people to lose their account access for something that is not related to any law or any meaningful indicia of risk. Becky, I think I came on with you 2 years ago to talk about when PayPal was unveiled a policy that said they could fine people or freeze their accounts based on certain types of speech that wasn't even related to their account activity. So, look, a bank account is so critical for a consumer or a business to be able to operate. And if they are doing so in a law-abiding way, they should not lose their account access. And it is true. We have been directed.
Do you think that, I'm sorry, we have to go, but I do have to ask you, do you think the CFPB is going to survive? The last time President Trump was in office, he put Mick Mulvaney there, and Mick Mulvaney's job was basically to take the place apart.
Well, that's really for the president to decide. My view is that the work of the CFPB is extremely popular everywhere in the country except for lobbyists in Washington and maybe some of the banks that they represent. We do need an agency to hold them accountable when they break the law. And that's exactly what we've been doing. And I think that's what people will expect. And based on the president's comments yesterday, it doesn't seem that the big banks will get a lapdog. I think they need a watchdog.